Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Peace, love, and positivity to you. My name is Sohum, and today I'm bringing you another Asaf Avidan reaction and lyrical analysis. Today we're going to be featuring the song Different Pulses, and after we check out the song, I'll give my initial take. We're going to hear Asaf himself discuss some of the meaning behind this song. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be a good time, and I'm sort of nervous about getting into this one because randomly through the grapevine I heard that this song in particular is a quite challenging one. From an artistic perspective, Asaf is going to throw all of what he has at us, and maybe some of the meaning in this is going to be a little bit harder to grasp, but I'm always excited to check out more from him and figure out what I can here. Before we dive in, a special thank you to Renat the Awesome for the generous donation request and selection today. Now, let's jump into it. Oh, that progression is already so lovely.
My life is like a wound.
Oh, melting into my brain.
I scratch so I can bleed.
Wow, those
Oh
lyrics.
God, you take my word. I rise so I can feed.
Oh,
And death grows like a tree
oh my God, these lyrics.
that's planted in my chest. Its roots are at my feet. I walk so it won't.
I have 3 layers on and I already have chills. Oh, that chord change, a little bit more major. Yeah, we went to like a major scale here. And another modification. Wait, listen to those 2 chords there. Yeah, right there, that's the first. Right there, that chord, those 2, really unique. Oh my God. Even though I know what Asaf is capable of, I am always surprised to hear it. The flutter of his vibrato when he transitions from the mix into the head voice, that flip, the cry, it's so supported and clean. But then it breaks apart.
Into a blinding light. And if love is not the key, if love is not a key,
Oh my God.
I hope that I can find a place where it could be.
Dude. Literally, God invented emotion and then gave it to Asaf and said, hey, can you amplify emotion for us in song form and deliver it to the masses who will be forever grateful and will help unlock a part of their own humanity through listening to you expressing your emotions in your music? Asaf said, yeah, I'll easily do that, no problem. So impressive. Oh, chills, man.
I know that in your heart there is an answer to a question, and I'm not as yet aware that I've asked. And if that tree hadn't drawn my tears, I would have let them cry for all the years that I, Lord, have let them pass. Say, oh, babe, I am yours. I say, oh,
The melody. Dude, Asaf's vibrato, when it's like, I'll like try to draw a metaphor. It's as if you're 30 meters above a body of water on top of a bridge. You take a stone and drop it, and then when it hits the water and the waves start to ripple, that is Asaf's vibrato. You hear the thud, the initial like impact. It's loud, it's cacophonous, and then it just effortlessly flows out. I mean, God, he is good. Oh, he's using the pedals now. Oh, how is he gonna layer this? There's a choir. Oh. Is he gonna play acoustic lead over this now? Yeah! Dude, he is so smart. He is so smart. What is that sound? What is that sound? It's so bright. It's piercing. It's like he's playing the stars here. Oh, that melody. The layers, the levels to all of it. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh. Recovering from this one is not going to be easy. I feel like I need to take like 15 deep breaths. Like how can I emotionally calm down from this, because that is his soul on full display. He amplifies the emotion, like I said, and the thing is, it's not just he who feels it in his performance. He's embodying it through and through. As listeners, as recipients of this beautiful, beautiful music, it permeates my body. It's one of those performances, right, where you hear it and like instantaneously, like you'll be able to reflect on it 10 years down the line and think like, wow, this song, this performance was formative for me. It changed the course of my music listening, my engagement with music in general, or just my own humanity and understanding of one's own emotions. It is that pivotal. It feels so, it is so impactful. I mean, my God. Where do you go from here when you hear something like this? It is just like the peak of all performance. Like there's like I can think in my like histories, right, of all the music I've listened to over my 28 years on this earth, and I know all of the songs and all of the different moments in time where music impacted me and changed my life one way, shape, or form. I know, right? I can just tell you right now, this is one of those songs. Oh, the melodies, the music, the performance, his voice, the lyrics. Yeah, I'm going to go on and on here about how good this was, but let's just jump into the lyrics here. I'll give my attempt at analysis, and then we will jump into the Asaf takes on his own lyrics. Right away, my life is like a wound I scratch so I can bleed. Regurgitate my words I write so I can feed. There's so much to unpack there by itself, but to characterize one's own life as a wound, as like a festering sore, an issue to kind of let heal, it's a crazy characterization. And the thing is, he notes that and says, the reason I scratched this wound of life is so I can bleed, so I can feel something from this experience. And now I don't let it heal. I don't let it, scab over and then fall off. I routinely pick at it. And I know all too well the problems that can cause your physical skin. I used to pick my skin a lot. Then regurgitate my words I write so I can feed. It's like I'm kind of like almost throwing up some of the things that I'm saying. But the thing is, those sayings are nourishing for me because I'm putting my own emotions out on paper and being sung into the ears of the world. I write so I can feed not only myself and nourish my own spirit, but feed the world. Then follows it up, and death grows like a tree that's planted in my chest. Its roots are at my feet. I walk so it won't rest. And this is a very jarring set of lyrics here, because normally you think of death as like a problematic thing, as inevitable, but here he kind of almost wants to amplify the impacts of death on himself, or march towards it even with some sense of intention. I don't know if that makes sense as I say it, but I'll kind of go through the lines here. So he notes, death grows like a tree that's planted in my chest. It's already there. It's going to fester as I grow older. Like taxes, death too is inevitable. And its roots are at my feet. I walk so it won't rest, which implies that he walks to allow death to grow. He moves through life so that he can make it to that later stage, from passing from this life on into the next or into the afterlife, whatever that whole thing looks like. And counterintuitively, when I think of, a lot of health and fitness advice in that domain, movement is a key element to one's healing. If you stay sedentary for far too long, there are so many negative ramifications on your health. So movement is the healer. But here it's almost like the reverse of that. If you're moving too much, I move my feet so that the death itself won't rest. If I'm overthinking that, let me know, but that's where I initially kind of land on. Then he follows it up. Oh baby, I am lost. I try to push the colors through a prism back to white. My physics knowledge is a little bit rusty, but my understanding with prisms, if light kind of goes into a prism, it gets refracted out and maybe changes color or changes frequency, one of those terms. And I think very often when many colors are sent to a prism, they all collectively become white. So there's something about an input of color, of variety, and an output of just stasis. To sink our different pulses into a blinding light. Oh, so it's almost like a melting pot. Like, let's reduce all of the color that we have collectively into one blinding light that is white, I guess, in this case. And if love is not the key, if love is not a key, I hope that I can find a place where it can be. So, keys open doors. If love is not the key to open a door, then love is the thing on the other end of that door. It's the reason we go through the doors of life, is to reach love and peace. And it almost feels like on the surface, well, love is the key for so much, but that frames love as the tool to get somewhere, where instead love should be the somewhere to get. I know that in your heart there is an answer to a question, which I'm not as yet aware that I've asked. Interesting. And if that tree had not drunk my tears, wow, the tree of death now feeding off of my own sadness, because sadness and melancholy and stress are all proven to bring us closer to our demise, I would have bled and cried for all the years that I alone have let them pass. Oh, I need to unpack that. I'm going to read this whole thing again. I know that in your heart there is an answer to a question which I'm not as yet aware that I have asked. And if that tree had not drunk my tears, I would have bled and cried for all the years that I alone have let them pass. So I let my years pass by me, crying, bleeding, inevitably leading to my death. Like, I brought myself to this place faster. But it's like a double negative. If that tree had not drunk my tears, then I would have bled and cried for all the years that I alone have let them pass. What? Those two lines are probably the most important lines of this song, and I think, hardest grammatically for me to wrap my brain around. That tree had not drunk my tears, so if it weren't for that pesky tree of death, I would have bled and cried for all years that I alone have let them pass. To me, it's almost like there's sort of a inevitability to the way in which this person has gone about their life. Like, if it hadn't been for the tears, I wouldn't have gotten closer to that death. But if it hadn't been for those tears and crying, I wouldn't have experienced the life that I have. So it's like, to experience death, you must experience life, but you will experience death. The death is inevitable. So it's like, as much as you try to avoid death by avoiding bleeding, by avoiding crying, those are the parts of life that make you experience, that make you feel something. Despite them also contributing to that end place, they also cause you to experience. And then, oh baby, I am yours. And I don't know who the oh baby here is. Is it the death that he's referring to here? Some lover? I am not so sure. But now I'll take it back to the title of the song, and then we'll jump into Asaf's breakdown. I'll pull that up real quick. Different pulses. The pulse of being alive. You have a heartbeat. You can see my heartbeat on display right here, right there. And when you have no pulse, the transition from life to death. I think that's what the title is referring to. And the different pulses, the different colors sent through the prism which now I'm seeing here on the thumbnail, he's holding a prism, may have to do with we all come in different ways into this life and experience, but we all end up in the same place. I think I've also mentioned this maybe in another Asaf reaction, but there's a System of a Down lyric in their song Ariel's, life is a waterfall, we're one in the river, then one again after the fall. I'm really curious to hear what he says. Let's jump into this. Oop, can't hear him.
It's Wednesday, which means we are diving into the lyrics. Today we're doing different pulses. This is a prism. It's a specifically angled piece of glass that refracts light into its component colors. Those component colors are actually our brain's translation of the visible spectrum of the electromagnetic wavelengths. How do we know this? We know this because Isaac
I need to refresh on my physics before I listen to Asaf next time. What is going on?
Of the visible spectrum of the electromagnetic wavelengths. How do we know this? We know this because Isaac Newton proved it in 1672 in an experiment involving 2 prisms and 1 lens. I love this experiment so much, and I will explain to you why I love it by the end of this conversation. Now, why does this matter? The text is, I try to push the colors through a prism back to white to sync our different pulses into a blinding light. About a little more than a decade ago, I was celebrating my 30th birthday, which at the time seemed like a monumentous occasion. I traveled to the island of Kauai, where I rented a house in front of the ocean. To that trip, I also took a couple of books that I've been meaning to read for a long time and just didn't get around to. One was Everything is Illuminated by Jonathan Safran Foer. The second was A History of Love by Nicole Krauss. Some days I would hike, on others I would scuba dive, but on many days I just went down to the beach, those 2 books in hand, in front of that ever-churning, relentless roar of the ocean. And as I was reading these books, letting the words seep into every cell of my body, my fingers sometimes touched the grains of sand. And as my fingers caressed the grains of sand, I remembered a program
He speaks so
on the
poetically.
BBC by Professor Brian Cox, which I adore. And he was talking about entropy, one of my favorite subjects. Entropy, at its simplistic form, is the amount of disorder a system has. And the second law of thermodynamics tells us that a system left to its own will always transition from a state of order to a state of more disorder, of more entropy. The universe loves disorder. Now, to me, the concept of entropy is poetically beautiful.
I'm going to go back a little bit again. There's so much to process as I hear him. Why does it keep muting?
Order a system has.
Annoying.
And the second law of thermodynamics tells us that a system left to its own will always transition from a state of order to a state of more disorder, of more entropy.
I remember
that.
The
universe loves disorder. Now, to me, the concept of entropy is poetically beautiful because it seems, it would appear that we are some kind of anomaly, a blissful moment of structure within an ever more chaotic universe. It just feels that somehow we are able to build beautiful, structured castles in the sand while the storms are building around us. So back to the story. I was 30 years old and I felt that
I guess I'll just address that point before it escapes me, but the reason I wouldn't make that assumption, which I guess the assumption being that we are, oh God, how did you just describe it? The assumption that we are like a perfect structure in this realm of disorder, I think it's potentially within the bounds of entropy that we exist, because I don't think we're as structured as we may seem. So the assumption, I guess, Layden in his discussion here is that most of us assume that we are structured, but at least I don't have that assumption. I feel like we are very often unstructured beings.
Within an ever more chaotic universe. It just feels that somehow we are able to build beautiful, structured castles in the sand while the storms are building around us.
I
So
feel
back
like
to
we're
the
a mini
story. I
storm
was
within the
30 years
larger
old,
storm.
and I felt that my life as a child, as a young adult, had ended. And somehow all the unbearable complexities of life, the different points of view, the different narratives, the different ifs and buts, just weighed down on me into a point that I didn't know how to untangle them anymore. All I was longing for was a momentary blissful moment of order within the chaos, a moment where the fractured light is not its many components anymore. Just put it back in, shove it through that prism,
Simplify.
back into one blinding, beautifully simple white light. Some months later, I finished the album, and it was seeping with the sands of entropy, the roaring, pounding waves of the ocean. But it was also drenched in the intellectual and emotional nutrition I received through Jonathan's
Dude,
and Nicole's books.
listening to him talk is such a pleasure. My God.
With the sands of entropy, the roaring, pounding waves of the ocean. But it was also drenched in the intellectual and emotional nutrition I received through Jonathan's and
Drenched
Nicole's
in that
books that I
nutrition,
read
wow.
with me at the time. More months later, I found myself back in Europe, in Paris, and I had a business meeting that turned out to be a very pleasant conversation about life and culture, and it got to talking about books. And when I mentioned that I love Nicole's and Jonathan's work, she told me that she knows somebody that knows them personally. And so back at the hotel, I found myself writing my first and only ever fan mail. The email was titled The Reverse of Entropy, and it talked about grains of sand and roaring of waves and what their books meant to me. But it mainly talked about that feeling of different chaotic moments funneling down through a prism back into one blissful momentary structure, a blinding,
Interesting.
beautiful light. I think
That is
fundamentally we're all falling apart endlessly. These
Yeah, that's fair.
particles are flowing out of us, but we are trying to grasp it, put some shape onto it, and call it ourselves a structure, a narrative, a form. But no, we're not white light. It's always an illusion of the many different components that
Okay,
make
so
it what it is.
So
I
he
live
agrees
my
with what I
life
was
in
thinking,
that
is that
shadow,
that's
the
not a fair
understanding
assumption.
that us and the world and the universe around us are more complex than it is bearable to bear. But I do aspire
Oh,
for
yeah.
moments of bliss, driving next to a forest, seeing the rushes of trees, and then stopping and seeing exactly the trees form a perfect path in front of you. Now let's go
Right.
back for a second to Isaac Newton's 1672 experiment with prism.
There's so much to unpack here. One way I kind of will recharacterize a bit of what he's saying is there is a joy in finding parsimony in life. Like mathematicians or physicists, for example, a lot of them, they're quoted as saying they love to find the simple, beautiful, elegant equation to life's endless complexities because things are complex. They're so complex that we can't fathom how complex they are. That's the level of this thing. But in a weird sense, with all of this entropy, with all of this dissolution, misunderstanding, whatever we have with our own fallible minds, there may be simple reductive moments in that whole scheme that we can sort of latch onto and understand, and we make a, we're able to make some kind of shape out of the chaos that's constantly brewing. And then at the end of it all, it's like you can't label anything. I had this discussion a while ago in a different reaction of mine, but even I, as a reactor, I try to label my thoughts and emotions and feelings about the music I'm listening to as best as I can. But even then, I'm only doing like a shoddy job because I'm reducing all of my internal world's complexity with my fallible mouthpiece, with my inability to express all of the other physical phenomena that I feel within me externally. everything, every representation is almost like a simulacrum of a simulacrum. We're never quite seeing the realness of something because we're always understanding it with a fractured lens or something that is a bit more segmented. It's maybe the ultimate tragedy, but also so worthwhile because there's so much to explore and understand. And because life is infinitely complex, that journey is never ending.
And seeing exactly the trees form a perfect path in front of you. Now let's go back for a second to Isaac Newton's 1672 experiment with prisms. It's important for our story to understand that the only way that Newton could prove his case was with the use of yet another prism. He could not use a single prism in order to channel back the colors into a blinding light. He needed another prism. I love this idea that through time our angles become sharp and we refract the light and we cannot see simplicity anymore. And the only way we can find structure back again is through yet another prism. Now that second prism can be many things. It can be love, as I used to think. And if love is not the key, if love is not a key, I hope that I can find a place where it could be. Or it could be introspection through form, the craft of writing. My life is like a wound I scratch so I can bleed, regurgitate my words. I write so I can feed. It could be anything. And even the search and hope for it is in and of itself a worthy endeavor. So that's my story about the beaches of Kauai, about books that I love, about Isaac Newton and prisms and entropy and sandcastles. I hope this gives you some insight as to where I am when I write these songs. I'll see you next Wednesday. Tell me which song you want next.
Okay, so there was a lot there. I tried to unpack as much as I could, and I'll do a little more. Interestingly, he didn't mention anything about death, which is actually a big part of my initial focus in the analysis I gave. Sort of viewing death as the equalizer, sort of as the blinding white light. Whatever experience we have in life and our own understanding and our own search for meaning, these endeavors, the different pulses, those colors, those complexities, they reduce to death. They degenerate to that place. And I guess it doesn't have to just be about death, which is why, even though I thought I was trying to extract the meaning abstractly, Asaf manages to take it another level, where it's just about entropy as a concept, the idea that things become more chaotic. Our ability to understand diminishes because the more that's introduced, the more stimuli that's out there, the more that there is to experience, the less and less the rigidity of the rules that we impose to understand those structures remain true. That's why so often, anytime you give a generalization, that generalization can be broken by various exceptions to the rule. But that's why they kind of label it, here's the rule and here are the exceptions, the type 1 error, the type 2 errors, because not everything can be perfectly defined by one single statement. There's always a hole to be poked somewhere. If you're a kid in like Catholic school, you may be dubbed as the contrarian who's always trying to be the critical thinker and poke holes in things, but everything that you can conceive of has holes in it. It's a matter of whether or not we take that kind of holy structure as being solid enough for us to like stake our hats on. It ends up like if you truly reduce all of it, you can get to a place where nothing has any meaning at all, and you enter a sort of realm of like nihilism, pseudo-nihilism, and everything is different. Everything becomes its own thing, and because it's all infinitely entropic, you don't find a rule to abide by. Our search for meaning as humans is a very endless one. As Asaf said, I think the more important thing at the end of it all is the routine effort to try to unpack it, that journey. Let's keep moving the needle forward towards understanding. Whether we get there or not, the journey is exciting enough. Dude, he is a genius. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. Please leave a like on the video. If you're interested in making a reaction request yourself, you can click the first link down below. But as always, my friends, have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care and peace.